So last week I parked in this restricted spot and they threatened to throw me in jail and tow my car. But today I'm parking my Lexus in the restricted spot, no problem. They weighed me right in and said, have a nice day. That's what I like about this Lexus. It puts me back on the A list where I belong. Next week I'll be swapping this out for a Toyota. I don't think they're going to let me park here then. So when Lexus called me up and said, hey, we want to send you a hybrid car to test, I said, nah, no thanks. I'm not interested in an economical car. I'm interested in a high-performance car. So call me back later with something else. Then when I looked at the paperwork and saw a price tag of 108 grand plus change, I said, wait, I changed my mind. And that's how we ended up with this 2018 Lexus LC500h Coupe. A very, very nice looking machine. So let's do a 360 degree walk around so you can get the full view. Every time I park this on the street where there are a lot of people, a crowd gathers. They just can't get enough of this. Another view from the side rear. The LC500 is intended to compete with many vehicles from BMW, Jaguar, and Mercedes, and I think it's going to do quite well. Last but not least, the side view. While we're at it, let's look at the brakes. 6 pistons, 16 inches in the front. 4 piston, 14 inches in the rear. I'd say that's some good stopping power. As with all of our videos, the first thing we do before driving is take headlights out and test them in the dark. Got 3 dinky bulbs here. Should be interesting to see what happens. So let's give this a shot. It's dark enough. Let's see how these headlights perform. Here's our headlight test. On a wall 100 feet away. Bright light, but rather low. Turn on the high beam. Definitely brighter. Here we have the high beams on a building 300 feet away. Lots of light, no complaints. Of course, the low beam doesn't reach, but more than adequate for city use. On backcountry roads, you can see what a nice job these high beams do, lighting up the road ahead. Drop the low beam, not as much. So on these roads, you want to stick to the high beam output. A lot of mountain lions out here, you wouldn't want to hit one. As you can see on these tight winding roads, the low beams don't have much output. Once again, the high beam setting saves the day. And yeah, the camera's shaking, but this is a very rough road and the suspension's doing a great job of absorbing all the bumps, even in the sport mode. Well, one good thing about having good headlights is you don't step on this rattlesnake that was in front of my car. Uh-oh. Somebody hit him in the head. The head's dead. Oh, I think I better leave him alone. Anyhow, this is another demonstration on what a nice job these Lexus headlights do. The base LC500 comes with a 5-liter V8 putting out 471 horsepower, hooked to a 10-speed automatic, fuel economy 16 mpg in the city. The LC500H has a 3.5-liter V6 putting out 295 horsepower. It's hooked to 2 electric motors and total output is 354 horsepower. The transmission setup in this car is too complicated to explain in detail. We just don't have the time. I'll just keep it short. It's a basic 4-speed automatic with a bunch of planetary gears, CVT setup. By the time it's all done, it gives you 10 forward gears, whether a manual or automatic mode. Fuel economy is rated at 26 mpg in the city, 35 on the highway, with 30 combined. We'll be racking up a lot of miles on this rig, so we'll be giving you the actual real-world fuel economy figures as we go along. I can tell you that in 270 miles of very brisk driving, most of it in the city, I'm getting 24.3, which is far better than the 16 mpg we get on the V8. So let's go inside and take a look at the cabin. You press the unlock button and the handle comes out for you. We'll review the positive features first, and the most obvious is the sea of nice tan leather we have in here, along with some very nice suede on these door panels. These are very comfortable seats, by the way. By the way, this is one of the most important knobs you'll have on this vehicle. It gives you 6 modes of driving: Eco, Comfort, Normal, Sport, and Sport Plus, and then a custom mode. Most of my driving was done in Normal or Sport. And as you change the modes, the gauge cluster changes too. Nice feature to have for your money. The climate control system is easy to operate. 8 simple buttons. That's all there is to it. It's a good unit that blows lots of cold air, which comes in handy when the outside temperature is climbing to 105 degrees. There's a large knob on the left side of the dash to turn off the traction control. There's also control for driving in snow, which I don't think we're going to be using today in this heat. The glove box has plenty of room, but only if you take out this giant owner's manual and stick it in the trunk. It's pretty thick, as you can see. There are 3 positive features that really stood out that I appreciated. Number 1, if you go in the glove box, there's a button that disconnects the power trunk to keep it from opening by accident. That's pretty important because if North Korea fires a nuclear missile over here to the USA, there's going to be a lot of radiation floating around, and all that might disturb the electronics and open your trunk by accident. We don't want that. So this is a good feature to have. My second favorite feature is on the rearview mirror. There's a button underneath. Disconnects the auto dimming system, so when you're driving at night, you can actually see in your mirror instead of looking at black glass. I do a lot of driving at night, so that's important to me. And third, I really appreciated these large magnesium paddle shifters, which are mounted on the steering wheel where they belong and can be reached regardless of steering wheel position, instead of the Italian cars where they mount them on the steering column where they can only be reached part of the time. The bottom line is paddle shifters belong here on the steering wheel, not on the steering column. So it's nice to know Lexus got it right. Unfortunately, like many exotic limited production cars, the interior has a lot of quirks and gripes. So let's just get that out of the way before we start driving, okay? We can start with the second row seating, and there's no human being on the planet that can sit back here. Not if they have legs. You might be able to fit the family German Shepherd back here, but he'll probably file a complaint with PETA for animal abuse. There's nothing going to fit back here except grocery bags. Or relatives you don't like. Number 2, the rocker panels under the door are the widest I've ever seen on a vehicle. Your leg rubs on the bodywork every time you get in and out of the car. And that's a problem if you live where it snows and rains a lot, because all the mud and debris will get on here and rub off on your pants. So you need to keep a rag and Windex handy and keep this clean. There are 2 controls for the shifter. the main knob here, which gives you reverse, neutral, and drive or manual, and a separate button for the park, giving you two controls to operate instead of one. Not a big deal, but just kind of annoying. These sun visors fold down, but they don't slide back and forth, so it's almost impossible to block the sun out of the side windows, which can make your face on a sunny day. Good thing the air conditioning blows nice and cold. But here's the system that's going to cause most of the aggravation. It's called the Remote Touch Interface Touchpad Controller. Most Lexus vehicles have a joystick. Here they've done away with that, and you have finger touch. And run your finger back and forth like this. If you're sitting still like I am, you might manage it. When you're driving and the car's bouncing around, don't even waste your time. Not gonna happen. Just for the record, this is what the infotainment system control looks like on other luxury Lexus vehicles. And you notice it's not a finger touch system, but controlled by this stick. Otherwise, it works pretty much the same. The difference is you have perfect control whether you're sitting still or driving, because you have a hand controlling a knob instead of a finger rolling around a touchpad. Now, why Lexus would take an excellent system like this that's been proven over years, remove it, replace it with a touchpad that doesn't work very well is beyond me, but this is the way they should have left it. But they didn't, so you'll just have to adjust. And on most vehicles, if you have air-conditioned seats, you simply push a button on the dash, it comes on, you push a button, it goes off, but not here. To get the vents on the seats operating, first you have to press the menu button. Then you have to scroll way over to climate. Then you have to use your finger to scroll way over on the seats. Then you have to adjust the seat temperature. Well, you get the idea. All of this instead of one switch. Fortunately, all of the complaints about the infotainment system are quickly forgotten when you get in this vehicle and start driving it, because driving it is what it's all about. And we're going to start doing that right now. So I thought I'd park this at the car show and see if it gets any attention. And we got one or two. Well, looks like they love it. I reset the computer and did a lot of driving tonight. Lots of driving. Total city, 26.4 mpg. Not bad. Stay tuned because we have a couple more highway trips coming up. We're going to take a quick freeway trip around 75 miles per hour and see what type of fuel economy we'll be getting. So stay tuned. On this fuel economy test, the temperature has dropped under 100 degrees, so we got cooler air going into the intakes. And traffic is light, so we'll be able to maintain a 70 to 75 mile per hour speed. 35 miles, averaging 70 miles per hour, 28.9 mpg. Let's bring that back up. I did hit 29.9 for a while, almost reached 30, but didn't happen. I think our going to trip was slightly uphill, and our return trip might be slightly downhill, so let's see what our second fuel economy figure is. And then we'll divide by 2 and see what we get. So on the going to trip, we got 28.9 mpg. On the return trip, 33.7 mpg. If we add it up, divide by 2, we can round it off at 31.5 mpg. A bit less than the 35 mpg claimed on the window sticker, but I would say that's good enough. With 354 horsepower, pulling a test weight of 4,700 pounds, you might expect this vehicle to be slow, but it's not. Lexus claims a 0 to 60 time of 4.7 seconds, which is easily obtained. and part of the credit can go to the 2 electric motors, which put out their maximum torque right off the line. For a 0 to 60 run, don't bother with the paddle shifters, just put it in Sport Plus mode and floor it. When you put it in sport mode, the exhaust gets louder. Although I'm getting the impression this is something that's being piped in through the speakers. I think they're trying to trick us. But it sounds good, so who cares? Very nice brakes, by the way. For highway cruising, just stick the computer in the comfort mode. You'll get a very soft ride. In either mode you get, the wind noise is very low. And the seats are very comfortable. And the air conditioning is very good, so good vehicle for long trips. On rough pavement, these giant run-flat tires do make a lot of rumbling noise, but no big deal, just turn up the stereo, drown it out. If you watch my videos, you know what's coming up next. Every time I come down this road, I gotta say hello to Tommy the Toad. They grow them big out here. It's the water they drink from the uranium mines, I guess. Alright, time to hit the road again. This car is designed for taking corners, and I can say it does that quite well. Using paddle shifters on a road like this is fun, but if you put the automatic in sport mode, the car can shift better and a lot smarter than you. So put it in drive and enjoy. I'm told the top speed of this car is 168 miles per hour. We're not going to do that, of course, but be assured that whatever speed we are doing, the high speed stability is simply superb. This does stick to the road. I still think that exhaust sound is being piped in through the speakers. I'll have to check on that. If you own a gun made by Ruger, this is where all your money went. The exotic fancy Ruger wrench. Where I have my fancy exotic car parked. This is a very dangerous road. A lot of high cliff drop-offs, no guardrails, tight corners. But I'm not worried because this vehicle is sticking to the road like glue, as I would expect. This electric power steering doesn't have much feel, but the steering ratio is quick enough for these tight corners, so there's really nothing to complain about. This car is so nice to drive, I totally forgot about that complicated infotainment system with this touchpad, but I'd rather listen to this exhaust sound than the music anyway. We just completed around 170 miles of very brisk driving. On any other vehicle, the brakes would have been roasted and I'd be very tired, but not here. I'm very comfortable still. The brakes are still running cool. Which brings up an issue. I don't really think this is a hardcore sports car. It's more of a luxury GT car, along the lines of the Aston Martins I've driven in the past. Which is a good thing, because the typical Lexus buyer will probably be looking for that. So we're going to head back into town, refill the tank, do some city freeway commuting, and see if we can bump up the fuel economy figures. For the record, the fuel economy on this particular day trip we took was just over 20 mpg. Not bad considering the performance, but I'm sure we can do better. For those of you who are tempted to try the top speed of 168 miles per hour, you'll be happy to know there's a rear spoiler that pops up that gives you increased stability. No, we're not going to try that. But if you do, it's there if you want it. And the spoiler can be activated by pressing this button below the shifter. Go for it. The first thing you have to remember when driving high-performance cars is to keep your eyes on the road, so don't be looking over the edge like that. It's dangerous. Keep your eyes on the road like I do. 80 miles of driving coming back into town, 27.7 mpg. But we were cheating a bit because some of it was downhill and we're doing a lot of passing, so we're going to get the car washed, reset it to 0, and try again. We've clocked 832 miles in 5 days. We're getting there. We got some people that are always sending me hate mail because I run these cars through an automatic car wash. They're telling me how it destroys the paint. No, it doesn't. I've been doing this for a while. And all these fleet cars get washed up to 52 times a year through automatic car wash, and they're still just fine. That's all I can tell you. Here's my take on the Lexus LC500 hybrid, or the entire 500 system for that matter. Number one, it proves that Lexus is serious about taking on the Europeans when it comes to exotic sports cars, because this vehicle certainly delivers. Number two, if you think the price is too high, really it's not, because this is a limited production vehicle. Only 4,500 copies will be made this year, and only 1,000 of those will be hybrids. So you're not going to see yourself coming and going out on the road. And since there won't be too many of these around, it's not very likely you're going to get a discount. So be prepared to pay sticker price. Another factor worth considering is that those European exotic cars have a way of falling apart when the warranty goes out. The Lexus vehicles are rather reliable, so owners of this LC500 hybrid shouldn't have to worry too much as far as repairs and maintenance problems go. So if you got 100 grand in your bank account you're not using and you're looking for a very sharp looking exotic car with good fuel economy and reliability, this is definitely worth a look.